Hello, I'm Shelley Rothus, and I'm a different kind of victim. Today is going to be part two, based upon the topic of bullying and what I have learned and how it applies to abuse and being the same as abuse, and how it relates to my abuse in real life. So, again, bullying is abuse. You could call it bullying or whatever you want, but it is abuse. And I'll be using in my personal story to compare the two to even prove that to be true. Also, again, I'm doing this not only for my own personal story and based upon learning from what happened to me in real life as when I came to my realization, but also for others who have experienced being bullied and were the victim or want to learn about it. And of course, the mental health field, since they could use some help in that topic itself to have a better understanding based upon seeing it firsthand and watching somebody experience it personally, like I have stated. And also, of course, teachers could benefit from learning more about bullying and just how bad it affects people and can affect people more than what most people realize or even want to admit. Basically, like what I discussed in part one, it's easier to be an asshole. That's where the denial comes into. For the abuser, not just the victim, but the abuser. Abusers will deny their actions as being inhumane. That also deals with the relationship that they have. Like with my father, it's because it's his wife, you know. She always comes number one, she's up here, just like the cult leader in the bullying clan. Always comes up here. And that goes along with other cult clan members. They'll stick by the other cult clan members because if they don't, guess who they're in trouble with? That's right. Just like my sister is in that clan too, right underneath my mother. If she doesn't follow that, ooh, that's right. It works the same way. And based upon my own personal experience of being abused as many years as I have, that's very true. Based upon what I did in part one, you can see how the bullying incidents definitely relate and compare to the abuse I experienced in real life. So, part two, I said I'll be starting with the next section, which would be lies. Oh, I hate lies. I mean, people say that the truth hurts, and like in my chapter of truth versus lies, I totally disagree. And that's why I always try to be honest. I really don't like lying. It makes me feel guilty. But there's people that can lie and do it without any guilt whatsoever. Just like there's people that won't apologize when they do harm to another person that had trusted and respected them. And you know what? People aren't going to completely understand that, especially ones that don't feel good about doing things like that and actually feel ashamed and guilty. I'm the type of person that I want to apologize if I did, in fact, hurt somebody's feelings as to where I did something wrong, where I caused it. They didn't do nothing to me, there was no self defense needed, and I just hurt their feelings. And I will apologize. But then there's people, there's the fear versus pride. Their fear is that people will see them as being inhumane. And that's very true. And also, they themselves will have to admit that they made a mistake. So that's where personal integrity comes into play. Like I said, the word respect and what I based it upon, personal integrity is very important within healthy relationships, whether it's in a intimate or friendship, any relationship. requires respect if you want it to be healthy. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading the next part, which is lies. Ugh, I hate lies. Lies. The abuser often uses lies as their main tool to continue succeeding in the abuse cycle. In the bullying cult clan, it enables them to be more successful when making lies about their victims. This is due to the fact that people will naturally tend to believe the side that has more people that are saying that it is the truth. Now, that's very true. I remember in a therapy session when my friend Mary was involved to make sure I was getting the right help I needed and whatnot. When she realized, she's like, man, you had a triad of abusers. Not any different than those bullying cult clans. That's right. I had a triad of abusers there too. Because those cult clans stick together. So, when there's more people, it's a lot easier to believe. It's almost like having a jury. That if there's more people that agree and maybe only a couple people that disagree, they're going to believe the people that there's more people involved. And that's exactly another reason why my abusers got away with abusing me for this many years. And there's no excuses or exceptions. One can say, well, she was my wife or she's my mother. There's no excuse for you to do those abusive actions. That's something that they have to admit to themselves and come clean. And that's where it comes to, people think, well, you can't, they always say you can't change somebody. They have to want to change themselves. And that can be a huge problem, actually. Now, CBT, let's go along with mental health therapies. Mental health therapies, yes, I'd say there's, good parts, and bad parts to them. Each and every single one of them. There's no perfect mental health therapy. That's where you have to be, really on key and knowing what that person would need and would be most helpful. I can't really say knowing. You would have to really be open-minded. And that's where empathy comes into play. You can't just say, well, they're a victim of abuse, so this is the type of therapy that should be used on them based upon, somebody saying that this type of therapy is what will work. Now, CBT, I'd say that, personally, I feel that works best for actual offenders of abuse. Like my teacher, Professor Dyer, my favorite teacher, he loved CBT, but he also worked with offenders, such as sexual offenders. And that's the type of mental health therapy that he used, his technique. CBT, it mainly focuses on changing your behavior and realizing it, and also coming to admitting your behaviors are wrong and that you need to change them. That's what CBT mostly focuses on. So that becomes a problem, especially for victims of abuse, such as myself. As I have stated before in other videos, is that the mental health field had tried to change me only. My 3 abusers, there was 3 against 1. That's right. They just, of course, the higher up, just like the cult clan leader, that's how they looked at parents. They're her parents. They're always right. They're always going to have what's in the best interest of her. So there's that flaw too. So they always tried to change me as though I was the bad one. So I was always outnumbered. See, that's where Ken came into play, because I was also bullied throughout my school years. And Ken defending me, even though he had to do it sneakily, until the cult clan leader realized that he was my friend and that he was helping me in that way. And he, got in trouble for that, because that's when Pootie Lube attacked even him. And that's when he turned on me. See, that's where that wasn't a good relationship, because I had shared the truth and even shown evidence like I've shown here on the YouTube videos. And he still went along with the lies and actually attacked me. So being outnumbered is a huge problem too for victims, such as myself. Examples. She is a danger to you because she is talking about you in her videos. She thinks that you want to marry her because she has written about you in a book based on her personal life story. That was when they're coming up with their BS, to talk crap about me that, even Ken went along with, that because I was talking about in my videos. And like I'm stating now, I'm even showing how that abuse relates to the abuse that happened with my 3 abusers in my life. Yeah. Just making guesses like that. Just like I said, the sloppy, hypocritical ageism, people making these, guesses. Like, I mean, one of the crazy ones was they came up with is that I thought he wanted to come here to have sex with me. Okay. Or wondering if he came on to me, or I have no idea. But, it's crazy stuff like that. And then the one person, Shatsula, bringing up something about, marriage, saying Mr. Clog, or I don't know. Like, I don't know. It was, I mean, you think that happens only in, elementary school, the kids will make, little, mean things, they'll see a boy and a girl together and talking, and they'll say, oh, look, that's Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Oh. I mean, that's how pathetic it is. I mean, it was just like, what the heck? People actually think that's being immature. No, it's just being an asshole. There's a good chance that he led her on because they talked with each other for a long time. Yeah, me and Ken did talk, for a long time, but it was on and off, because it was only when he wasn't under the cult clan when he actually was, decent to me. And, that wasn't really a, good friendship and relationship. It wasn't healthy, And he basically had to do it privately. Like, I mean, somebody mentioned something that, he probably had a soft spot for me, like, as to where he, I don't know, maybe he did care. He just, but he cared more about being with that cult clan. Like I stated, that, they don't want to admit their mistakes. And plus, being with that cult clan, it gives that person a sense of being somebody. It makes them who they are, and they don't want to lose that, because that's what they normalized as being normal in their life. And that's where normalization comes into play too, for the abuser themselves. They normalize their behavior as being normal and moral, just because having a relationship is a good feeling. So just like the victim has trouble letting go of an unhealthy or toxic abusive relationship, the same can go along with abusers. Because just like my father sticks around my mother because he feels that he can't survive without her. He really does. That's how unhealthy that relationship is. Because he feels that he definitely needs her or else he'll die. Literally. So that's exactly how cult clans are together too. Their friendship is just like that. And they feel if they lose it, then they lose who they are as themselves. But I am proof that me escaping that cult clan did me wonders and so much good for myself, as for self-esteem, and also being proud of who I am as a person, being away from people like that. Because, as I stated in previous videos, is I was never like that. I was not judgmental. I didn't care what, religion someone was, this, that, or that. I was never into political stuff. And I still really, I'm not, I don't even like talking about it now with people in real life. I never did. That's just me. But again, being away from toxic relationships like that has done me so much good as for a person and also growing. And there's a lot more that I've done in growth, as in trying to improve myself based upon how I was conditioned and raised by my 3 abusers. I don't want to be the guy piling on the mentally unwell. I mean, that was the most cruel and despicable thing anybody has ever said. And again, that's discrimination against special needs. And as I've proven, certain people in that bullying cult clan also have a mental illness. And like I've also stated, we all have mental illnesses. I mean, he's calling me mentally unwell when he's in, all these hate groups talking crap about people that had trusted and respected him. I mean, to me, I think he's more mentally unwell, Ken, for being in groups like that, or anybody else that is involved in groups like that, hate groups, talking about people that had trusted and respected you and talking despicable and cruel things like this. Now you see why I am single, because I only attract crazy women. Wow, like I said, I must have been and I'm the type that attracts self-centered pricks, whose fingers look like swollen, deformed, bent mini cocks. Oh, they do. So I'm just being honest, Okay, I'll stop. I'll behave. Lies out of omission. Now this is where someone I know in real life explained to me what Ken was doing, which was lies out of omission. I never really understood that until she explained it. And that was my friend Nina. She had explained to me what lies out of omission is. And that's exactly what Ken was doing by being in a hate group while pretending to be my friend and not even telling me. So basically made me out to be a fool and humiliated me like that. Ken being in a hate group, watching and degrading me with others while pretending to be my friend at the same time. My abusers saying that they care and love me, but committing abusive actions and behaviors such as spreading lies about me to others behind my back. My parents and sister spread lies to others saying that I am not mentally well and incapable of being around others or being independent. Anyone who has a mental health profession and they're in that field and they were dealing with me and my abusers during that time before I escaped, and they ignored all the red flags without taking proper action to help me. That's also lies out of omission. If you see red flags and you just ignore it because you put your morals or your values and beliefs based on social and cultural beliefs, then you were a part of the problem and still are. As for why many victims such as myself end up being stuck, because I was being abused since I was a young child, and I was seeing mental health professionals before I was an adult. So every single one of them plays a role, just like all the people in the cult clan plays a role as to why abuse continues in all areas. And it's very true. anyone who knew me and believed any lies my parents and sister told them without asking or telling me about it. Yeah, they told relatives and people that I was close to try to get them to believe the lies. Even my godparents, they told them. My therapist remembers when my sister came with me to a therapy session. My sister was trying her hardest to convince my therapist about a lie about me. It was an obvious lie that even my therapist admitted that she found fishy. She was also weary about how my sister tried so hard to not only to convince her that that lie is true, but was also trying to convince me that it is true. That's right. Abusers will try to get the victim to even believe lies that were based on that victim that that victim knows isn't true. And that's exactly, my sister is just like my mother. Like I said, she's the assistant, cult leader's assistant. Just like there's the cult leader assistant in those bullying cult clans. Just as ridiculous as my 3 abusers digging their noses into when I was social with others. One of the lies was when me, my dad, and mother were at a store together. I was with just my dad, and my mother wasn't there. A man came up to me and started yelling at me. My mother was coming out of the store and saw the man and me from a distance. She ran over to intervene. She was acting all crazy. My dad saw it from a distance and told me, without my mother there, that the guy should have minded his own business and left me alone. Yet my dad followed along with my mother and made a lie about that situation by saying that I went up to a man and yelled at him. That's right. My dad watched that man come up to me that I didn't even know him and start yelling at me. That's right. He knows their lies. And they use that to try to get me and Baker acted or try to get their, in to talk to my psychiatrist behind my back. That was one of the lies. And I have evidence. That's right. Just like with the bullying cult clan, I have evidence of many lies, just like I do of my 3 abusers. That's right. When I was in my 30s, me, my dad, mother, and sister were at a flea market. A man from a sales booth approached me, and my mother ran all the way over to me and grabbed me and pulled me away and gave the man a dirty look and told him not to talk to me. That's right, she was way behind me. And a man came up to me, flirting kind of, and she hauled butt all the way over to me to get me away from him and told him not to talk to me. That's right. I was in my 30s. So you can see why it was hard for me to have any relationship because they tried to control that too, And also the way they raised me, I didn't pick healthy relationships. So I'm going to end it there. The next part is going to be bullying cult clan syndrome. That's going to be part 3. And I'll be going over that. So, as you can see, lies play a huge role as for how abusers continue their abuse. Just like they lie to themselves and continue to lie that they are in good, healthy relationships and are a positive asset to society as a whole. When the fact is that they are being very self-centered and they don't care how they affect others. That's not a positive asset to society as a whole. And fear and pride. They fear of seeing themselves as being inhumane and not being a positive asset to society as a whole. So, admitting to their faults is where that comes into play too. Denial. Yes, abusers experience that too. That's a huge thing with all this, is denial. And denial doesn't mean that you don't know what the facts are or the truth. You know it. Just like I said, you choose to be an asshole, period. You know right from wrong. So, I hope to see you for part 3 based on the bullying incident and me showing how it is abuse and how it relates to my own personal story. So, I'm Shelley Rothus, and I'm a different kind of victim. See you next time.